Hello everyone, you welcome to The Inside. I am Barrister Jonathan. Thursday, November 30, 2017, upon his return from Ivory Coast, where he participated at the 5th African Union-European Union Summit, Cameroon's head of state, Paul Biya, made a brief statement to the press following the killing of 4 soldiers and 2 police officers in Mamfe in the southwest region of the country within the context of the deepening Anglophone crisis. After expressing his condolences to the bereaved families of the fallen soldiers and police officers and the security and defense forces, the head of state, Paul Biya, firmly reassured Cameroonians that all measures have been taken to put an end to such acts of aggression so that peace and stability and security can reign in the 2 Anglophone regions of the country and the entire nation. This was later interpreted by politicians, political analysts, civil society leaders, and human rights defenders as a declaration of war against the English-speaking population of the Republic of Cameroon. And now, 30th November 2019 marked 2 years since President Paul Biya made this statement. What has government done to put an end to the atrocities in the northwest and southwest regions of the country? What has been the impact of that statement later, which was interpreted as a declaration of war on the Anglophone crisis? What is the situation of Siku Ayuktabe and the other 9 leaders of Anglophones and other detainees of the Anglophone crisis, including Mancho BBC, Ben Terence, T. Conrad, and others who are still being detained at the Kondengi maximum security prisons in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé? We are going to answer these questions with our guest in this edition of The Inside. We will also talk about the upcoming municipal and legislative elections in Cameroon, with political parties including the Cameroon Renaissance Movement, the Social Democratic Front, the Popular Action Party, the CPP, announcing that they are not going to take part in those elections if the situation continues deepening in the 2 Anglophone regions of the country, if the electoral code is not revised, if the electoral system of Cameroon is not changed. Meet our guest in some few seconds. Our guest in this edition of The Inside is a legal mind, a barrister at law. Barrister Akuwiyadze Joseph is one of the lawyers of Siku Ayuktabe and the other Anglophone crisis detainees who are held at the Kondengi maximum security prison in Cameroon's political capital, Yaoundé. Barrister, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you, Jonathan.
We begin with this statement that the President of the Republic made 2 years ago when he returned from Ivory Coast after participating at the 5th African Union and European Union Summit. He reassured Cameroonians that all measures have been taken to put an end to atrocities, and he was speaking following the killing of 4 soldiers and 2 police officers in Mamfe in the southwest region of the country. 2 years down memory lane, what has happened? What has government done, in your opinion, in line with this statement that the President of the Republic made, indicating that all measures have been taken to put an end to the killings?
Yes, Jonathan, it is very unfortunate that the President of Cameroon, Mr. Paul Biya, he made such a statement, because immediately thereafter, I quite remember that it was at the Simalène airport when he just arrived from Côte d'Ivoire, because immediately thereafter we saw a mass deployment of troops and military hardware to the northwest and southwest regions, and we all know what happened thereafter. The military descended on not on those termed secessionists and terrorists and criminals. The military descended on the population, killing innocent civilians, and we saw mass exodus of civilians from in the northwest and southwest regions to other parts of Cameroon and even out of the country. So it is, to say the least, is the most unfortunate thing that he ever did. And I'm sure that he must be regretting that he made such a statement, because in other words, he declared war on those he termed his brothers and sisters of the northwest and southwest regions.
Even
and
though
at the same time, he tagged them secessionists and terrorists and criminals. And as I say, it is the most important and the most unfortunate thing he did, and he must actually be regretting it now.
Even though his close aides repeatedly said the head of state never declared war, he never used those terms, declaration of war.
Well, how can you interpret that when he says that he said that all measures had been taken to make sure that the criminals are tracked down? And 2 years on now, the question to answer is, I think he is the one to answer the question, have the criminals been tracked down? Has the war ended? On the contrary, the war is getting more sophisticated and getting more difficult for him. The war is getting more difficult for his soldiers, because we all know that the military descended not on those he termed criminals, but on civilians. And they have killed so many civilians. And I keep wondering, a military that is well trained, that ought to be friendly to civilians and ought to protect the same civilians, they go out, they massacre the same civilians. They know with their military technology, with the military hard and software that they have, they know where the amber camps are, but they are not courageous enough. I say this, and I will repeat, that the Cameroon military is not courageous enough to go to where these Amazonian fighters are in the bushes to fight them there. They prefer to go to the towns and kill innocent civilians. I'll give you an example. When the military leaves Bamenda, if they are going, say, to Kambe, they start shooting. As soon as they arrive Sabga, from Sabga they start shooting indiscriminately. They don't care where the bullets are going to. They will shoot indiscriminately until they arrive Kambe. So what is their target? When they are shooting, they are targeting who? They know where the secessionists are.
Government authorities have dismissed this information, what you're saying now. Other people have said it before. Politicians have said it before. Non-governmental organizations, even international bodies have said what you're saying now concerning atrocities allegedly committed by the military. But the authorities say the soldiers have been very professional. They have been doing their job within the ambits of the law, respecting human rights, and so on. Even though they are said to be working on the instructions coming from the top after the statement that the head of state made, followed by another one in which he said that if the separatists do not drop their guns and come out of the bushes, the military would be instructed to neutralize them. But the authorities say they have been very professional.
I think I can tell you that the Cameroon military is one of the unprofessional militaries in the world, because I personally, before I left Congo, I personally saw the military shoot and kill unarmed civilians. It's a neighbor, I had a neighbor, a lady who was 7 months pregnant, a nurse. She was in uniform with a badge, and she was going to work, because at that time, since the situation was so polarized and so dangerous, health workers were prone to wearing their uniform from their houses, and they carried their badges before going to work. This is a woman that if you saw from a distance, you will see that this is a pregnant woman who is going to work and works in the hospital. And they shot and killed this woman. And I saw it with my own eyes. There is another day I was coming from my construction site. I stood in my car waiting for the military to pass so that I could continue. And I saw them shoot at a young man who was passing beside the market. This young man carried nothing. All he had in his hand was a pen and a paper. And this is a young man, a technician, a welder, who had gone and taken measurements in a customer's house to do window protectors. So if a military is coming and cannot perceive that this is a woman who is unarmed, who is pregnant, and this is a young man who is carrying no arm, and they shoot and kill. And for the young man, when they shot this young man from the car, one of them jumped from the pickup when this guy was already on the ground and rained 6 bullets on him again. I was one of the first to be on the scene. So how can you call that a professional military? So the bad thing is the military has been doing a very bad job because they have been killing most of the civilians. They know where the secessionists are. They know where the amber fighters are. They're in the bushes. Let them go and meet them there and battle with them there. And when they come to the towns, they should be professional enough to protect the civilians. So why are the people fleeing? The people are not fleeing from the Amber Boys. I know, as a matter of fact, that the Amber Boys are not saints. You will not know who is the real Amber Boy and who is not a real Amber fighter. Because in a situation of war, war is chaos. War is disorder. And when there is disorder, when there is chaos, thieves they will get inside and they can take advantage to terrorize the people too in order to steal from them. But then what is the military doing in order to create a safe haven, a safe environment where the civilians could go about their activities in peace?
That is, of course, the duty of the soldiers who are in those two regions. As per what the authorities have been saying, the Minister of Defense, the government spokesperson, communication minister, the Minister of Territorial Administration, that the soldiers are there not to kill the people, not to destroy properties, not to burn any house, but to protect the people and to protect the territorial integrity of Cameroon.
In April of this year, the military burned 42 houses in Kumbo, the center of Kumbo, including my own house. And this was in full view of everyone. So they know very well that the military has been doing all this, but they keep saying how the military is professional. So how professional are they? I know that governments in the world, all governments in the world, just a bunch of mafia people, and they will never speak the truth. They know it is not like government officials or the government spokesperson does not know that the military, they are committing these atrocities. They know. Because the game plan is to inflict pain on the population and probably make them to hate the Amazonian fighters so that they will now say, well, if it is that the military should be killing us, we better accept the slavery in which we were before. So this is the game plan, which is not working. It has not worked, and it will never work. If the Amazonian fighters started the war with them guns, and the military, as professional as we hear they are, they could not overpower them. Is it now that the same Amazonian fighters, they have sophisticated weapons? They have the same weapons that the military have. So how are we going to get to the end of this?
Does that explain why President Paul Biya's statement is interpreted as a declaration of war?
Of course it was, because as I said earlier, after he made that declaration, there was a heavy deployment of the military in the northwest and the southwest regions. That is the meaning of him saying that the criminals, as he called them, and the terrorists, they were going to be tracked down. So for 2 years, they are still hunting the said criminals. And they have not tracked the said criminals down. Because if you look at in other areas, like in Lebiale, you find a situation because of insecurity. A senior divisional officer is installed in the governor's office, in Biya. So the question to us is, the person who declared the war, he should ask himself the question, is he winning or is he losing? And I think that he should tell himself that he is losing and should explore other options.
He talked of measures, not only military, because you've been talking only about military measures, military actions that are taken on the ground. There are other measures, there are other things that government has been doing to bring, to restore normalcy and peace in those two regions, sending the Prime Minister to move across the two regions, preaching peace and so on. And most recently, and one of the major actions, the major national dialogue organized, convened by the President of the Republic to solve the crisis. What about all these other measures that have been taken besides the military?
Jonathan, that is putting the cart before the horse. Because if he declared war a year ago, 2 years ago rather, he declared war on the 30th of November 2017, the first thing he ought to have realized after 1 year plus was that he was not going to win this war. And then he would have called for a ceasefire. He would have stopped the military from doing what they are doing. If the military doesn't go to attack civilians or to attack the Amazonian fighters, they themselves don't go to attack the military. So he cannot call for a major national dialogue while the war is waging. So he's putting the cart before the horse. He should stop the war and think of some other thing he has to do. And I'm afraid that the way things are, it is almost impossible for Mr. Biya to solve this problem. And I think that everybody is seeing that Mr. Biya can never solve this problem.
Why do you think he can never solve this problem?
He can never solve this problem because he himself, recently in Paris, he said the Anglophones, they had tried to assimilate the Francophones that are in the majority, had tried to assimilate the Anglophones, and it didn't work. One. Secondly, he has sent his military that has inflicted pain on Southern Cameroonians, and there is no way Southern Cameroonians will just get up one day and just say, well, we've forgotten. Somebody will just say, oh, Jonathan, you just say, I've forgotten that the military killed my father. I've forgotten that the military killed my son, my wife. So how do you suddenly forget? So the wounds are there, and I think that the best thing to do, if at all he can be the one to do it, and I know that he is not the one who can do it, is to allow the people he calls Anglophones to go their way. Because whichever way you look at it, there is no way that the so-called Anglophones will ever live again with the so-called Francophones in their country called Cameroon. I am not a prophet of doom, but the events have proven that there is just no way these two peoples can ever live as one. We're talking about major national dialogue. He was dialoguing with who? The people he is supposed to dialogue with. Some of them are in jail. Sisiko Ayub Tabe and members of his cabinet are in jail. And there are some of those he has dialogue with. Some of them are abroad. These are the people he has to dialogue with. But you know, he sent delegations that went abroad to see those who are abroad, who are speaking on behalf of Southern Cameroonians, to try to find a solution to the crisis. But no solution can come. I think the real thing is on the ground. Even those who are abroad, they don't have control on what is commonly referred to as ground zero. You see that sometimes those in the diaspora, they will call for ghost towns, and those who are on the spot, they say, no, we are not going to observe that ghost town. And those on the ground, they say, okay, we're going to have a shutdown. And those abroad, they say, we didn't call for a shutdown, but what happens? People respect what is happening on the ground. So I think that he cannot be talking of dialogue when the people he's supposed to dialogue with are in jail.
We're going to talk about those who are in jail in a short while. First, I want us to look at the impact of that statement of the head of state on the 30th of November 2017 on happenings in the two Anglophone regions of the country. What has been the impact on the crisis?
Well, as I said before, it has radicalized the people the more. It has radicalized the Amazonian fighters the more. When you kill my father, kill my brother, what is the next thing I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of vengeance. The only thing that comes to my mind is picking up arms to go and fight the person who has killed my father, who has killed my brother or my sister. So the impact has been negative. Negative in the sense that it has radicalized the people the more. And they are more resolved than ever before to fight, to free themselves from what can rightly be called slavery that they have gone through for the past 58 years.
Does that also explain the killings on the other side? The killings on the other side.
Well, as I said before, war is chaos. War is disorder. The person who is pulling the strings, when you are in authority, you should be very careful the way you are managing a situation, because you might manage a situation in a way that you fuel the other camp unknowingly, inadvertently. So that is exactly what he's done.
Because there are soldiers too who are being killed in those two regions. They are civilians too,
and that is war.
Who are being killed.
And that is war. Don't be oblivious of the genesis of this crisis. It was started by the strike of the lawyers and the teachers. And they started with cosmetic solutions to the strike, to the demands of the lawyers and the teachers. And the thing was worsening by the day. And they were seeing it. And they kept, those who are around Mr. Biya kept telling him, oh, we're going to win. And they are not winning.
The Secretary of
and
State,
they will never win.
The United States Secretary of State for African Affairs, in charge of African Affairs, Tibor Nash, recently said those who are around the head of state have certainly been telling him that he can win this war militarily, but he can't do so. That's what he said.
You know that war is business. In a situation of disorder, there are people who profit therefrom. All the big guns in the military, they have a budget that they are managing, the war budget. And you know how Cameroonians manage budgets. Will they want the war to end? The military that go into the field, when they break into shops and they loot, carry cell phones, carry electronic devices, and they go and sell, and they make money. So that is war, and it profits them.
Accusations that have been rejected by the only administration.
Well, if I say, for example, in Kumbu Park in particular, there are many electronic shops there. They break into all those shops. When the military break into a shop, and when they leave, and you come and you find the shop empty, what would be the logical conclusion? Will the conclusion be that they break the shop, saw the cell phones, the electronic devices, allowed them there, left, and some other people came and stole them? In BBH, they came to BBH quarters one day and looted property. And when they looted the property, thereafter they were ordered to take the property back, and they brought the property back in broad daylight. And the people who had the property refused to take. So to say that the military has sense is a big lie. The Amba fighters are equally no sense.
No,
and that is war.
Earlier you said the President of the Republic should allow the Anglophones to go their way. What did you mean by that?
What I mean is that if there is anything he will want to do to think that Cameroon will still be this one and indivisible Cameroon that they have been singing over and over and over, then that is a farce. It will just be dreaming. Because the reality is that majority of Southern Cameroonians do not have a sense. They don't feel like belonging to this triangle called Cameroon. They think that they are in foreign land. They look at what they commonly call it La République du Cameroun. They look at it as some foreign country. So they don't have a feeling of belonging to that country. How do you make them belong? Have that feeling of belonging to that country when you are killing them every day? From time immemorial, Anglophones, so to speak, in Cameroon have been looked at as second-class citizens. And we all know that. You need to see even the most primitive of a Francophone who think that he is more civilized than anybody called an Anglophone. So the long and short of it is that no matter how hard Mr. Biya tries, there is no way he can ever solve this problem. Some other person could solve the problem, but not him. And he has shown beyond any shred of doubt that, one, he is not willing to solve it. Two, he is unable to solve it. So how is he going to get around these two issues?
So what should he do?
The issue, what he should do is to hands off by calling on the international community to please, if these people say they don't want to belong again to Cameroon, they don't trust me, come and conduct a referendum and ask them whether they still want to belong to La République du Cameroun, or they want to be on their own. If the outcome of that vote, if majority say they want to belong to La République du Cameroun, so be it. If the majority say we want to go, we want to be on our own, he should allow them go.
A section of Anglophones are at the extremes, and they think that there is no solution, not even the special status to the Anglophone crisis. They think that the only solution is secession, is restoring the independence of the former Southern Cameroon. But the question is it a feasible option? According to people like Dr. Simon Munzo, former Deputy Special Representative of the UN Secretary General in Ivory Coast, this independence option can only be feasible through an armed conflict, an armed insurgency. What do you think about this?
But that is exactly what is happening, because, as I say generously, up to about 80% of the territory of Southern Cameroon is ungovernable. And it has happened in other countries, Sudan and Southern Sudan. It has happened, there have been a war for long, Ethiopia, Eritrea, there have been war. And the end result had been that those who said they wanted to go, they have ended up going. So in 1961, the Southern Cameroon and La République du Cameroun came together in whatever union as two equal entities. And if you look at section 47 of that, of the 1961 Constitution, Federal Constitution, it spelled out clearly that the federal nature of the state was not going to be changed. And when Ahijo surreptitiously changed it, that was the beginning of trouble. And you see that Anglophones have been treated as second-class citizens. And last thing was on the 10th of September, when the president made a speech to say that at the end of the month there will be a major national dialogue. I laughed when he won that aloud, just for you to get an insight of the mindset of Mr. Biya. He wondered aloud that he is surprised that Anglophones are talking about marginalization, whereas from time immemorial, the Prime Minister has always been an Anglophone. You and I know, what can the Prime Minister do in terms of policy, determination of policy in Cameroon?
He's in charge of implementing the policies
in charge of
the head of state.
implementing. He does not implement anything. He is just like a gate man. You know, in your house, somebody comes and greets the gate man and say, please, I want to see your boss. That is what the Prime Minister does. What he does is receiving guests. Can the Prime Minister appoint a divisional officer? He cannot. The Prime Minister is the fifth personality of the Republic. The two most important functions in Cameroon are the President, the Presidency, and the Secretary General of the Presidency. And that's exactly, the Secretary General of the Presidency is the Vice President. These are the two people who are the ones who rule and they reign. If the Prime Minister, sometimes you hear the Prime Minister has issued this order, he has appointed this or that, it's just window dressing. The whole thing comes from the presidency. At most, he can be asked to propose, and if he proposes, there's somebody who has to say yes or no. So what is the use of a Prime Minister? You know, in any political system that the judiciary is not independent, you cannot say that there's democracy there. It's tyranny, it's dictatorship, it's a monarchy. When the judiciary is independent, that is when you can talk of a democracy. And that explains why the head of state, he rules and he reigns. If he is not there, the Secretary General, he represents him, and everything goes. Mr. Biya can go and remain wherever for 1 year. Cameroon will still be run by the Secretary General, not by the Prime Minister. So the Prime Minister is not important post. If Mr. Biya, starting from Mr. Ahijo, may he rest in peace, if they were sincere with their colonial master, the French, if they were sincere that they were bringing Anglophones into this union to be equal, and they wanted this union to last, they would have made a presidency that will be rotating between Anglophones and Francophones. For 58 years, there are two presidents they are all Francophones. With that majority, is there any, do you really imagine that in your lifetime or in the next 100 years, the way things are, there will ever be an Anglophone who can be president in Cameroon? The answer is no. So the basis, the foundation of whatever union we had in 1961 had been flawed. And the only option is to let my people go.
There is an option which the President of the Republic is said recently during the Paris Peace Forum that measures are being taken to implement the special status which emerged from the major national dialogue, which is of course enshrined in the 1996 Constitution of Cameroon. What do you think about this special status?
Nemo dat quod non habet. Can you give what you don't have? He is pretending to give to Anglophones what he doesn't have. I don't think that at this time he will still think that he can give something to Anglophones. He has tried. He himself, on the 10th of September, he made a synopsis, elaborated the various measures that the government, that he and his government had taken to end the crisis. But he himself said he was surprised that the crisis is still waging on and the war is still on. But he has never reflected, he has not started to ask himself, notwithstanding these plethora of measures, which are cosmetic anyway, why is it that these people are still fighting? Why are they not accepting these measures? The answer is simple. They don't have a sense of belonging. They don't feel that they are part of a country called Cameroon.
All right, Barrister, we're going to take a look at what the newspapers reported this week, and when we come back, we'll talk about some of those. Many think that President Paul Biya should dialogue with, should negotiate with to find a way out of the Anglophone crisis. I'm talking about Sisiku, Ayub Tabe, and the other detainees of the Anglophone crisis. Stay with us.
The Guardian Post of Monday, November 5th reports the boycott of the 2020 twin elections by the Cameroon Renaissance Movement political party. The Post Weekender talks about the African Union, Commonwealth and the Francophonie sending diplomats to mount pressure on the government of Cameroon to end the Anglophone crisis. The Star, resignation spells tears. Infighting hits politicians. The Sun describes the road to the February 2020 twin elections as one filled with bumps, shocks, intrigues and cross-carpeting. The Voice on its part talks of the saga brought by the February 2020 twin elections that advocate new twist in Fako politics ahead of the February twin elections. Eden CPDM electoralist composition all guards shiver as hierarchy wants new blood. The Horizon said CEMAC economic ministers advocate for inclusive development.
Thanks, Immaculate Fogwe, for the press review. Barrister Akuwiyadze Joseph, your clients, Sisiku Ayuktabi and the other 9 leaders of the Anglophones who were arrested in Nigeria and brought back to Cameroon and who have been detained at the Kondengi Maximum Security Prison in Yaoundé were slammed a life jail sentence by the Yaoundé military court, and you have sent in an appeal. What is their situation now?
It is very unfortunate that after we fulfilled the conditions of appeal and filed our memorandum of grounds of appeal within the time provided for by law, that was on the 9th of September 2019, till date is almost 3 months. We have never received any summons inviting us to come to the Court of Appeal on a particular date for the said appeal. And one would have imagined that the marathon trial, the speed with which they tried and convicted our clients, is the same speed they ought to have used to process the appeal and forward the file to the Court of Appeal. But as we speak now, the file is still at the military tribunal in Yaoundé.
And the appeal is still at the Central Court of Appeal. No response.
The appeal has not arrived the Court of Appeal yet. Usually when you file an appeal and conditions of appeal are given and you fulfill the said conditions, record of proceedings in the trial court, in this case the military tribunal, they are processed and then forwarded to the Court of Appeal, and the parties informed by summonses that the appeal will come up on a particular day. Up till date, we have not heard anything about it, which means that the appeal is not yet at the level of the Court of Appeal. It's still at the level of the military tribunal.
But what can possibly explain this long period of silence?
The long period, as I have said before, that in any political system that the judiciary is not independent, you will not be surprised that these things happen. Is it normal that Sisiku Ayuktabe in this time of a matter, they were tried in such a marathon trial overnight and judgment delivered in such a way, in such a callous manner in which it was delivered? Were you surprised? And if at this time the appeal documents have not been processed and sent to the Court of Appeal, will you be surprised? It is because somewhere somebody is pulling the strings.
After you paid 5 million,
we had fulfilled the conditions of appeal. When they asked for 5 million deposit from our clients, what was at the back of their minds was that our clients were not going to be able to pay in this money. That explains why the day we went and paid this money on behalf of our clients, they were surprised that we paid the money. So it will not be any surprise anyway that the appeal is still at the level of the military tribunal, because the politicians are pulling the strings, because the judiciary is not independent.
Why are you saying that the judiciary is not independent? This is contrary to what the authorities are saying, that the courts are independent, the judges are independent.
How can the courts be independent How can the judiciary be independent when it's the same Mr. Biya who is the #1 magistrate, and he is the one who appoints them? He's the one who transfers them. He's the one who demotes them. He sanctions them. So how do you talk about independence of the judiciary, where the executive, the president, is the one who sits on everything? Is it only the judiciary that is not independent? Is the legislature independent? All the three arms of government are embedded in one in Cameroon. Everything is centered on the president. Not even on the executive. It's centered on the president, on one person.
Barrister Akuwiyadze Joseph, what's the situation of the other detainees of the Anglophone crisis? What about Mancho BBC, Penn Terence, C. Conrad, and the others?
As you know, some of them, their matters are on appeal. Some of them, the matters are not on appeal. Some of them have not been tried. Some of them have been detained for over 2 years. Some of them have never, ever even been interrogated, but they are being arbitrarily detained. For the ones who have been tried, I should let the public know that after the marathon trial of Sisiko and Co., it was the same thing that happened to the other detainees, the other asylum seekers who were brought in from Nigeria with Sisiko Ayuktabe and the rest. They equally carried out the same marathon trial, convicted and sentenced them, for which we had filed appeals, and we fulfilled the conditions of appeal, and we're waiting for them to process the records of appeal and send to the Court of Appeal.
What else are you looking forward to?
There is some other thing I want to make very, very, very clear. It is unfortunate that at one time, I've never had the opportunity to let the public know. It is unfortunate that at one time, one of us alleged that Sisiko Ayuktabe had been compromised. That was a big joke in bad taste.
You're talking about Barrister Frujon, former lead defense counsel of
that is his name.
The team of lawyers.
That was a joke in bad taste, because Sisiko Ayuktabe, he had the opportunity to be able to compromise, and he has never compromised. And he had made it very clear his position doesn't waver, and that he is looking forward to a free Ambazonia. He prefers to remain in jail until, as he usually says, until all Ambazonian detainees are freed. That is when he can leave jail. And he had decided, together with his cabinet, to sacrifice their lives for the freedom of Southern Cameroonians.
Barrister
Frujon
also said he had a meeting with a top government official, and the lawyers did not know about the meeting. The lawyers did not know what to discuss.
Let me speak for myself. I don't know whether Sisiko Ayuktabe and the others had retained Barrister Frujon. So it's unfortunate. I don't like to call my colleague's name. He's a senior colleague. I don't know whether they had retained him. Even if they had retained him, must you be privy to what everything your client discussed? I don't think so. I personally will not ask that question. I cannot determine who goes to visit Sisiko Ayuktabe in prison. And what is wrong if a top government official goes to him and says, "Oh, please, Sisiko, we are going to give you 100 billion so that you can ask your people to stop fighting and they continue in this slavery." What is wrong in somebody going to propose that to him? What is germane is what he tells that person. And if he tells the person, that person might come over and over and over, and he tells the person the same thing. Please, I cannot compromise the freedom of the people of Southern Cameroon for my own personal interest, for self-aggrandizement.
Right.
That is what is important. What is important is not the people who visit him, because he cannot choose the people who come to see him. If Paul Biya himself wants to see Sisiko in jail, Sisiko will suddenly just find him there. Say the prison administration will say, okay, Sisiko, come, somebody wants to see you. And when he comes, he realizes that it's Paul Biya sitting there. He says, I want to see you. Okay, this thing is already above me. What do you think we can do to solve this problem? What is wrong? If at all anybody ever went to discuss with Sisiko, there's nothing wrong with that.
All right, Barrister, do you have the last word before we go?
The last word, for now, I can only ask Mr. Biya to mitigate the damage he has already done to southern Cameroon by calling for a ceasefire. By calling for a ceasefire means by asking his troops to go back to the barracks. If he's interested in mitigating the damage is already there, let him call for a ceasefire and ask his troops to go back to the barracks. And if he wants to talk, maybe he can ask me whom he has to dialogue with, and I will tell him the people he has to dialogue with.
Who are they?
But you know where the people are. The people are in jail. Those are the people he has to dialogue with. You know where some of them are. Some of them are in the diaspora. Those are the people he has to dialogue with. And the people have said it clearly that the form of this dialogue is a negotiated settlement. They just have to agree. You go your way, and I go my way. And if you think that you can subdue me, so you continue trying your luck.
Akuwiyadze Joseph, barrister at law, member of the Cameroon Bar Association, and one of the lawyers of Sisiko Yektabe and the other leaders of the Anglophones detained at the Kondengi Maximum Security Prison in Yaoundé. Thanks for coming.
The pleasure is mine, Jonathan.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. Meet our second guest in this edition of The Inside in some few seconds. If you're just joining us, you're watching The Inside on Equinox Television, and we are receiving one of the most courageous, determined, outspoken, and daring female personalities in the Republic of Cameroon. Our second guest in this edition of the program, Barrister Alice Nkom, is the first French-speaking female lawyer in the Cameroon Bar Association. She's a human rights defender, board chairperson of the Network of Human Rights Defenders in Central Africa. She has received awards from the Pan-African Human Rights Defenders Network and Amnesty International for her stiff fight for the respect of universally recognized human rights, notably the rights of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transsexual persons, and many other minorities. Barrister Alice Nkom, welcome to the program.
Oh, thank you.
The municipal and legislative elections in the Republic of Cameroon have been scheduled for February 9, 2020. But opposition political parties, beginning with the CRM, the Cameroon Renaissance Movement, are saying we are not going to take part in this election if the Anglophone crisis is not solved. We are not going to take part in this election if the electoral code and the electoral system, the entire system, is not revised. We are not going to be part of this election. The Social Democratic Front is saying the same thing, even though there are some doubts on whether the party of John Fundi is going to take part in the elections or not. Before these two political parties, the CPP, the Cameroon People's Party, and the PAP, the Popular Action Party, said earlier that there is no need to organize elections in this context in Cameroon. What's your take on all this?
Well, let me turn my eyes to the person who is daring to organize election in this kind of situation, not turning my eye to opposition party. Why? Because the person who is organizing the election at this moment, where we are still in war in one notable part of our country, nor and Nozo, as we call it,
the Northwest and Southwest regions,
is also the person who is supposed to be the incarnation of unity. He is also the person who is supposed to be the one who ensures the security at any time in our country, inside and at the borders of our country. This person's name is Mr. President of the Republic. He took oath of service and said he will do that. How can he today, after having started war, where there was no reason to put war, guns, killings, where there was only people who were saying that, look at the history of our country. We were supposed to be recognized as a part of Cameroon in a system of federalism.
You said the head of state started a war.
Yes. Ha! When these people of Northwest and Southwest asked for being recognized as a part of Cameroon, not inside and being mashed by the government, the answer was guns, gun killing. I still have memory, I remember. That was 3 years ago, and everybody saw that. And I, myself, I went to the TV and say, please, leave these people march, ask for this even independence, give them a legal answer, and give them political answer. Please, don't use your power of chief of army and arms to answer this kind of question they are asking you. I went to a television to ask him publicly to say, you have all this power in your hands. Please, don't make a mistake by using the bad one, the bad button. He didn't care. And he sent military to kill, to silence people. He didn't want to understand, to hear.
But he said
and
he sent the military not to kill.
Not to
the
kill?
government has been saying that he sent the military to protect the people, to protect the territorial integrity of Cameroon, and not to kill or burn houses.
How can he say that? Do you think that you can send military and ask them not to kill? Where is the police? The police who are in charge of, who have services of order. Why did he send military? And I still remember that people like, authorities like President Nijon Fundi said, we had too many military, even the cardinal. Too many military. Don't militarize our area, please. Remove these militaries. He just kept being deaf and dumb.
Some justify the presence of the military by
No,
indicating that there
you
is
cannot, but
there's a military component, there's a security component of the crisis that needed a security response.
Do you think that beer is for security, internal security in a country like ours? Their job is to kill anyone who is not in the right way for them. And this is the order they gave to them. If not, if he didn't send them to kill, now we have more than 3,000 deaths in our hand from the beginning. What did he do? These people did not obey to him. Because if you say that he didn't ask them to kill, but they killed, no doubt about that. What is he doing?
And some of them,
did he
have been killed.
Pardon?
Some of them also have been killed.
Because they wanted to be killed. You know what we call legitimate defense? Legitimate defense? You know what this means? Do you think that when you take oath on service, to ensure the security everywhere. Do you think that one day this can mean that you can kill your own compatriot and co-citizens? I don't think that. You must try the way how to, if there is someone who committed a crime, take them to the court. Why we have justice, we are supposed to have magistrate. They are just turning their fingers like this, they don't work. Because they have not people to say, okay, you make this, and you will be trialed. Because they are killed before all. This is not the way. This is why, how can the president, if he did not ask people to kill, now we have 3,000 more than that maybe, people dead. What does he do? Why is he still continuing to organize election in this context? Why? This is why I say there is something wrong, not among opposition leaders who said we will not compete, and they are right. I support this position. But what is he doing? After presidential election, we know what happened. No peace, increasing killing everywhere. Did he stabilize this before organizing another election? What is in his head to not see that his duty, his work as president of all Cameroonians is to fight for peace anytime, to have in his horizon peace and only peace. He said that he doesn't know what peace means because he's a beggar. He's going to beg outside, abroad, for peace.
The argument on the side of the government, is that for those who have the responsibility of managing the affairs of the people, the affairs of the country, those who have the mandate of speaking for the people. I'm talking about parliamentarians, I'm talking about mayors, I'm talking about councillors. For them to continue doing that job, they have to make sure that they are doing so within the ambits of the law. Without the elections, their mandate will expire and they will be working illegally. And so the president says, I'm a man of the law, I respect the law, so we need to go
Who respects the law? Not our president. Yes. In my knowledge, what I know as a practitioner of law, he is violating the highest law of the country. One of the highest laws of the country is the treaties and convention, international convention, the international law. He is, yes, this is our first superior law in Cameroon. He violates it. And this is why he has a lot of guests from international organizations, EU, UN, Francophonie, coming every day to try to say, oh, what is wrong? This is international law. We all are bounded by this law. You are violating it. And it is not me who say that, but it is a truth. When he arrests Camto and many others of MRC and SDF, MRC and many others, taking them to a military court, he violates the law. Not only the internal law, but he violates the international law, which is the highest of our Cameroonian law. So he must not give example of someone who is at the head of a country where he is the first to violate the laws. This is not good. No, he's in a wrong way. Please tell him that he is not in the right way. He better have to stop, come back, and reunite all the countries. He is his job to be the reuniting person, uniting person, not separatist. Because by doing like this, he cannot argue that Ayuk and others are separatists, because he is just putting in action many acts of secessionists. Because today we know that we are not in the same level like people in Nozo vis-a-vis these elections. Because this is a lack and very guilty attitude to not put all the people in the same level of security, in the same level to go and choose their representatives to the municipality and legislative. This is the only moment where the people of Cameroon do their job of in democracy. Say, we must go and choose X, Y, Z to represent us. So how can he treat people who are going to make them king and queen? How can he treat them like that? Not to making sure that all the dispositions has been taken to make this being done freely in all security manners. How? This is not, my question is again turning to the opposition party, but I want the president to look at we and tell us, what is he doing at Itudi? Does he remember that he was sent by us to work for us, to ensure our security? Not me, people of Northwestern Sudan too. Everybody, every Cameroonian who casts his vote, he said that he had 31%. Why? When is he going to respect these people who made him king? Why is he continuing in this way? This is not, again, what he's doing today is not really again against candidates. It's against the people, in the name of which he is there, in the name of which he has all the money, all the power.
The social,
and this is why he was taking an oath on service.
That's why.
Does he remember that? Please take him back to the relationship, the nature of the relationship he has with the people of Cameroon, even people of Northwest who was killed today. Ask him to go back and try to read the Constitution very well, and to understand that democracy is the power of the people. He has only a mandate for a short time, 7 years. So, in respect of these people, he should not organize election in this environment, in this atmosphere.
The Social
He
Democratic
must
Front
try
is asking
to,
for
he must, we don't have to, he must go back home, read the Constitution, remember that he took oath on service, and know that he has more duties for the people than the people have for him. He must not put himself above the people. Yes, he must be in service, yes. If he can remember that, somebody can remind him that, and then maybe he must understand that he must do it with humility and try to fix things in a different way he's doing now. So,
if the elections were not to take place, or the elections were to be postponed,
he must have
MPs and
yes, he must have. He must have
already extended their mandate, I think, twice.
Yes. This is not someone who can respect the law. The law is the first law is the people who gave you the mandate. If at this occasion you cannot be strict in the respect of the law, because people are waiting. They are waiting for what it is written in the Constitution. You have a mandate of 5 years, and you must do everything you must do to be ready for 5 years. Yes, you must not always use the exception of this rule for your own interest and put the country in a mess.
Let's take some interviews and we'll be right back in some few minutes.
If the Anglophone crisis is not solved, if there is no ceasefire, the stand-up for Cameroon, political party leaders will not be part of the dubious and fraudulent election organized by the Yaoundé regime to continue deceiving the Cameroonian people.
There are violations of human rights resulting from the continuous use of violence, and which has created the emergence of groups that you cannot even identify, because you have the initial armed groups that were trying to fight to defend themselves, but in addition to that, you've also had warlords who have constituted groups around themselves to make gains, capture people and obtain ransom from them, not in the agenda. Certainly, it must be clear that that would not normally be in the agenda of the people who initially started fighting to obtain certain desires of theirs. So confusion has come in, and that confusion has led to suspicion. And people are suspecting that one is either on one side or the other side. So even our our security and defense forces would look at population in the village as supporting the Amber Boys. And when they want to attack, sometimes it's indiscriminate. You've heard people who have gone to the field saying that it is indiscriminate. They just attack and kill without making sure that they identify the people who have committed the offense and deal only with those people. And then the same thing will be with the Amber Boys, who suspect some villagers for cooperating with the security and defense forces to commit atrocities on them. So it's a situation that's not good. We have to seek to end it.
Since the inception of this subdivision in 2007, CPDM has won all elections. But today, if you go and knock the door of anybody here in Limbe 3, they will tell you that they have no confidence again in the CPDM government. Because of this route, we have suffered a lot on this route. And our politicians only know us when it is time for elections. Very soon they flex their muscles to come here to come and talk campaign and start singing Oye, Oye, and at the end, when we give them their votes, when they go, they forget us, they throw us in the dustbins. We are telling them, elections will be here. We have called on the contractor, let them start the work. If they don't start the work, SDF are trying to build up a list, whoever wins will win. But we are asking the CPDM government to sit up. Let them sit up. And our politicians of the CPDM who are here, they should sit up. Let them not deceive us again. We are tired of their deception. If we look at the road, it's a World Heritage Center. It's not the best. When there is rainfall here, you cannot climb. You visited the area. When there's rainfall here, just for 1 hour, you cannot go to the slave trade center. But that is a slave trade center that has been advertised the whole world. Biya is a very historic village. Alfred Secker landed here in 1844 and packed out of this place in 1858 and founded Victoria in 1858. Biya is a very historic area. We know it. Even before the arrival of Alfred Secker, the Portuguese landed here. Treaties signed between us, between Cameroon and our, colonial masters were signed between the Biya people and the Douala people and our colonial masters. King Biya of Biya and King Bell of Douala signed treaties annexing Cameroon to the Germans in, during the scramble for Africa. But look at it. It has been neglected. After the creation of Victoria, the place has just been neglected as though it has no history.
We are facing too many challenges as disabled people as far as job is concerned. The main difficulty is pre-mindset. People think that as you cannot see, as you are not sighted, it will not be easy for you to adapt, to adjust yourself in a company. You will not be able to work. What we wish to say is that that is not true. We wish the private companies to give us an opportunity so that we can show them what we are able to do. When we are in a republic like Cameroon, it is the duty of the state to make sure that the rights of everybody, each and any person, are respected.
You're welcome back. Barrister, you certainly listened to the President of the National Commission on Human Rights and Freedoms, Dr. Chimuta Divine Banda, highlighting a wide range of violations of human rights in Cameroon, notably in the northwest and southwest regions of the country within the context of the Anglophone crisis. In the latest report, he indicated or decried the continuous violation of human rights in Cameroon. From your standpoint, from your opinion, as a senior legal mind, what's your take on the situation of the respect of human rights in Cameroon from a global perspective, and then the case of the northwest and southwest regions of the country in particular?
This report is exactly the situation, the same situation we notice every day in our daily work of a member of REDAC, where I work as a chairperson of the board. And it is the system we are living in today is a system of, the principle is violation of rights. Exceptionally, they can ask you to respect the rights because it is the rights of the president and his people. Yes. So what it is written in this report is exactly the situation in Cameroon today. And yesterday also
saying that Cameroon is a law-abiding country. Cameroon is a law-abiding state. Cameroon respects the laws, the rights of the people.
It is only them who they think that everybody is blind. We don't know what is going on. He thinks that okay, when our friends like American citizens, the government of America, they came to help us. They brought people, American citizens, to help us to fight against Boko Haram. Everybody saw them. And then they withdrew their army. Because of what? Because of this tricky way for the government to always lie that they are killing Boko Haram, where they are violating human rights against populations. The most victims are the victims of the army, the soldiers. You remember when one soldier shot kids on the back of their mother. This is the violation of the main law in the world, international. And they withdraw. Now they withdraw Cameroon from AGOA. Always because of the violations. And believe me, they have lost a pastor. Americans have lost a citizen in the Northwest. Yes, this is not a joke. You cannot, if you are serious with yourself and honest with yourself, say that there are not violation of human rights in Cameroon. Legal and official violation ordered by the person who is in charge of protecting them.
Sometimes we hear government officials saying that most often politicians of the opposition, civil society leaders like you, talk about the violations of human rights, but you don't talk about abuse of human rights, which is carried out by armed groups, individuals, civilians.
It is a shame for them. It is a shame for them because they are not structured to organize security in the country, to organize justice in the country. They are not able to do that. This is their job. They have all the means to do that. So where do you want me to go and find people, separatists, who kill? Where do you want me to do that? I must deal with the person who has a contract called Constitution with me. Yes. And then, if he respects the clauses of this contract, and then we are together to fight the others. We have all the means for that. He has the administration, he has the justice, he has prison, he has everything.
All right, Barrister, I said earlier in this program that you have received several awards from the Pan-African Human Rights Defenders Network and also from Amnesty International for your stiff fight for the respect of universally recognized human rights, notably the rights of lesbians, gay, bisexual, transsexual persons, and other minorities. Why did you choose to fight for these people, for these groups of people?
I chose to do that because...
considered in some societies, notably in Africa, as outcast.
Yes, because they are human, because nobody has ever said that if you are homosexual, you must not vote. You must not be registered. So everybody, by this doing, accept and recognize that being homosexual is not being a non-human person or non-citizen. You have all your rights. You have the right to love who you want. If you are doing it in a context where you do it with someone who has his majority and who is consented.
Well, these are acts that are generally...
So not doing that means only for our society that we do not use the values of equality, indivisibility of human rights, and universality of human rights. You don't use value to organize the life of the country. You are a separatist in your soul. What happened to LGBT people is what exactly in the same spirit of what is happening to Northwest, so Anglophone. You are separatist in your mind. And whatever you do, it is with this vision of you are not CPDM, so you are my enemy, I must fight against you. This is the same thing with LGBT people.
You're not you're a lesbian, you're my enemy.
Yes.
You are
I
gay,
put you I have the power to put you in prison, and I put you in prison.
You are my enemy.
Yes.
But
this is the way this country is ruled, and this is not good. Because the principle of equality, of indivisibility of right for everybody, and the person who is in charge of watching, of taking care of this, is the President of the Republic. He said when he took oath on service. Everybody knows that. But on the field, what do we see? Everything is separation, secessionistic when he acts.
Barrister Alice Nkom, homosexuality is a crime in many African countries.
In our country, and I fight for that.
Including Cameroon.
Yes.
And you're fighting for people who are violating the law of the land.
When I defend someone who is taken to court because of robbery, robbery is a crime, and this is exactly why I must defend him. That doesn't mean that I defend homosexuality, but I must defend him.
When you're defending the rights.
Sometimes which is forbidden. But in the case of homosexuality, I defend the human being dignity.
Not the act, but the human being.
I must not know if he acts like this, like that, when he is with his wife. Even the government, even the president has not this right to know, to see what is doing in a domicile. The domicile is protected by the principle of inviolability. Is it an English word? Inviolability.
Yes.
Yes. Nobody has the right to violate your domicile. And this is why sexuality, domicile is the chosen place for practice of sexuality. No matter if homo or hetero or no. This is where the sanctuary of sexuality, yes, and it is covered and protected by the principle of inviolability. Do you understand what I try to say?
Yes, nobody has the right
so you know how you
to come into your house, to start saying don't do this, don't do that.
Yes, with your beloved person, provided he's not a minor. So how can you punish those who? How do you even document this? Because even the judge doesn't have the right to send people to violate your. He wait for you. If you bring even your wife, if she want to show that, to have evidence of your infidelity, there are a lot of precautions to go and catch him making this in the room, because both of you are owner of this domicile. But if you are not the owner of the co-owner, and how can you say no? How I slept tonight with my boyfriend or my girlfriend? How? How can you bring evidence to the court saying that she acted like homosexual tonight? You cannot. So homosexuality must never be a crime. Never. You cannot punish love.
But for now, it's a crime in Cameroon.
In Cameroon, it is a crime, but this law violates the international law. This law of Mr. Akuwiyadze of our national parliament violates the principle contained in the upper law they ratified before. This is said in the same penal code at article provision 2, that international law is binding for everything, every crime in this code, in this penal code.
So when there's a conflict between national and international law, the national law is abrogated.
Yeah, must not be applied, used by the judge, because of this provision 2 of the penal code, who say that take care is superior. Yeah. Yes, and we have a lot of resolution of sort of judgment from the AU in this particular case of homosexuality, who say that countries that penalize sex between consentant adults violate the charter of AU. We have a judgment for that, for AU.
And that's why you have been defending them.
Of course, I must defend the law.
All right.
Yes.
We've come to the end of this edition of The Inside.
Yes.
You have a last word before we go?
Last word?
Yes.
I want to tell my fellow citizen that they must not accept to be manipulated by the government today, because organizing election today is just mocking them. They're mocking their suffer, mocking their rights, because they want to be verrou jaune. No. We must not accept that the president is not bounded by the obligation of his function. You understand what I mean? Yes. We must not accept that. This is a lack of respect for us. This is why I support MRC, I support PCRN, all these who said we must be sure that peace is back before organizing for everybody new election, because this is the time when the population, the people of Cameroon, show their power to send whoever they want to manage our country, our well-being, for us and for the future generation.
Some parties like the CPP, the PAP had taken this decision a long time ago.
They are right.
The CRM political party allowed militants and some candidates to compile their flyers for the elections. The SDF did same before coming at the last minute to say we are not taking part, playing a kind of forward and
because the way the country is managed cannot allow you to have a safe and warm reflection, because the president of the republic, who is also the concurrent, because he is also the chief of a party, he's part of election by being the chief of both the country and a party. He is the only one who has the agenda. So when he is ready, he say, okay, you have 15 days to prepare yourself. Do you put roads for them to go and campaign? No. Do you put everything to easier? Do you connect them with internet? They can do everything quicker in these 15 days when you are ready, because you are your sous-prefect, you have everybody, military, everybody everywhere who work for you. Do you know the difficulties of people to be candidate and to go and vote in this climate? You know where, if you will postpone, if you don't postpone, and then you put everybody in the hurry. One party has as president, our president of all the republic. This confusion at the head of our country is the main cause of many of the disorder in the country.
Barrister Alice Nkom, thanks for your time. Thanks for accepting to be with us in this edition of the Insight.
Thank you very much.
Barrister Alice Nkom, I said it earlier in this program, is the first French-speaking female lawyer in the Cameroon Bar Association. She is a human rights defender, board chair of the Network of Human Rights Defenders in Central Africa. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us in this edition of the program. Next Sunday, another edition will be coming up.